The officer shoves him hard enough that the young man falls to the ground, hitting the pavement and rising with indescribable pain and determination in his eyes. The crowd watches in silence, phones recording, and no one suspects that this young man is the mayor's son. Just a few hours later, when the video goes viral, the shocking truth shatters the silence, sparking a wave of protest that changes the city forever. What follows will stun even the most seasoned observers, but let's start from the very beginning. The day started bright and sunny, as Darius, a tall, athletic black young man with short hair and a confident look, joined the rally downtown. He was surrounded by a diverse crowd, each holding signs demanding equality and justice. Young people, seniors, families, all were there for one purpose: to demand change in how the black community was treated and to hold city officials accountable for systemic bias. Darius stood out not only because of his height, but also because of the striking sign he held that read, "Equality for all, not a privilege, but a right." He approached a group of students, exchanging friendly words of encouragement, talking about the importance of resilience. This rally meant a lot to him. His father, the city's mayor, often spoke about the need for reform, but Darius was determined to show his own stance on the issue, even if it meant putting himself at risk. Police officers were already stationed around the perimeter of the square, their presence looming. They looked tense, casting disapproving glances at the participants. Among them was Officer Logan, a man around 40 with a harsh expression. Logan was known for his strict methods, and many suspected that his biases against black people might have influenced his conduct on the job. When Logan noticed Darius with his sign, he couldn't hide his irritation. He felt Darius was drawing too much attention and decided to set him straight. Approaching him, Logan demanded that Darius put down the sign and leave the rally, claiming that he was disturbing public order. Darius, trying to remain calm, explained that he was peacefully expressing his opinion and doing nothing illegal. Logan responded with a contemptuous smirk, repeating his demand more forcefully and with sharper words. At this point, more people began gathering to watch the interaction. Darius stood his ground, showing he wasn't going to back down. Logan saw this as a challenge and had no intention of tolerating any defiance. The crowd around them began anxiously watching the scene as Logan, unaccustomed to having his orders questioned, stepped closer to Darius. He loudly demanded that he leave the square immediately, and when he saw that Darius remained steadfast, he made an abrupt move. Logan shoved Darius in the chest, not anticipating serious consequences, but the push was stronger than he'd intended. Darius lost his balance and fell awkwardly, hitting his shoulder on the pavement. There were gasps from the crowd. Someone shouted that the officer's actions were unacceptable, while another asked in shock, "Was he even disturbing the peace?" A few protesters rushed over to help Darius up and make sure he was okay. He was stunned, but tried to stay composed. His shoulder and wrist ached from the fall, but he quickly gathered himself and rose to his feet. The crowd around him began discussing what had just happened, and someone raised their phone to record a video, which soon began circulating. A murmur of indignation swept through the protesters, though they still tried to keep things peaceful. Logan, noticing the growing unrest, pretended nothing serious had happened and avoided looking at Darius. He turned to the rest of the crowd, reminding them to maintain public order. But all eyes were on him now. People's phones captured not only the incident, but the crowd's reaction. One of the students immediately posted a short video on social media with the caption, "Officer shoves peaceful protester at equality rally." The footage quickly began gaining traction online, where users were actively discussing Logan's actions. Comments poured in with outrage and disbelief. Many felt the officer's behavior was out of line. Supportive shouts echoed through the square, but Darius, now standing, simply held up his sign in silence, showing that he was prepared to stand firm despite what had happened. A few hours after the incident, the video of Darius and Logan began to spread rapidly on social media. Users actively shared the footage, discussing the officer's aggressive actions and expressing support for the young man hurt at the equality rally. Comments ranged from confusion to open outrage. People were demanding justice and an explanation from the police. Journalists soon picked up on the video, asking the question, Who was this young man at the center of the scandal? When a reporter from a local news channel discovered that the victim was Darius Carter, the son of the city's mayor, it became headline news. News agencies seized on the story, and TV stations quickly aired reports revealing that the mayor's son had become a victim of police bias in front of dozens of witnesses. Mayor Alex Carter learned of the incident while he was in a meeting. First, a staff member called him, then his head of PR, and shortly afterward, he watched the video himself. Shocked, he immediately contacted the city's police chief, demanding a swift investigation and a public report. Angry and deeply concerned for his son, the mayor decided to make an official statement to the press, emphasizing that no position or authority justifies treating a person differently based on the color of their skin. Soon, the entire city knew that the young man in the video was the mayor's son, intensifying the reaction. Under pressure from the media, the city's police chief issued a statement announcing an internal investigation into Officer Logan's actions. He emphasized that every police officer must uphold order and protect citizens' rights, promising that the case would be thoroughly examined. Amid the growing uproar, many residents, from students to community activists, began organizing additional rallies and events in support of Darius and against police violence. By midday, hundreds had gathered outside the police department, demanding accountability and fair punishment for Officer Logan. Among the protesters, signs with Darius's photo and slogans for justice further drew the press's attention. Meanwhile, online discussions continued. Numerous posts and comments about the incident filled social media, where people not only shared their opinions, but also called for changes in police practices. Activists raised issues about systemic racism and the need for reform. Users spread the video and hashtags supporting Darius to draw national attention to the incident. That evening, Mayor Carter made a public statement, urging for justice and equality, holding back his emotions as he promised that there would be consequences for what had happened. The day after Mayor Carter's press conference, attention on the incident not only persisted but intensified. The investigation into Officer Logan proceeded swiftly, and upon its conclusion, the police department publicly acknowledged that his actions had been unjustified. Responding to public demands and media pressure, Logan was temporarily suspended, and the department announced the implementation of mandatory training on citizens' rights and bias prevention. That evening, an even larger crowd gathered outside City Hall. They came not only to support Darius, but to demand substantial changes in the system. Youth organizations and activists delivered speeches on the need for reform, and calls for justice echoed everywhere. In the midst of the protests, Mayor Carter addressed the city, stating that his son should not have experienced such treatment, nor should anyone else, regardless of their background or status. He emphasized that this incident had become a symbol of long overdue change and announced the launch of a new program to reform the police force, aimed at increasing transparency and accountability. Darius, still recovering from the incident, decided he couldn't stay silent. He addressed the crowd, sharing his experience and expressing gratitude for their support, stressing that the goal of these protests was not only to seek justice for him, but to create a safer, fairer community for everyone. His words were met with loud applause and approval. Darius became a symbol of the movement for rights and equality, and his sincerity inspired other young people to join the cause. Following his speech, various local community organizations announced the formation of a task force to monitor police conduct. They committed to pushing for transparency and oversight to prevent similar incidents in the future. Public support for this movement was immense. In the following months, the city administration began implementing reforms, including mandatory police training, an independent oversight system, and a complaint mechanism that guaranteed complete anonymity. Mayor Carter provided regular updates to residents on the progress of these reforms, determined to demonstrate genuine efforts to change the system. Darius's story became an example for many other cities, and soon similar initiatives inspired by his struggle began emerging across the country.